Issue 158. After Eggman tries and fails to order Adam around, he says that the programming of him and M must be scrambled by Snively. He somehow manages to avoid a Neo Metal Sonic while complimenting it, despite the fact that it should be moving at the speed of sound, trying to kill him. I could understand Eggman being this competent and non-inept in a fight with things way deadlier than him if he was still an android, but he's not. So this is just arbitrary. He says, "And there! My phase inverter should even the odds," and gives M a headache with the press of a button from a device that he had conveniently on him. She is confused because she last remembered that she was with Metal Sonic and Shadow, and Eggman says that apparently her circuits were jammed up. It complains that unfortunately the superior designed Neo Metal Sonics aren't so easily controlled, as M destroys one of them way too easily and inexplicably. As Eggman and M run away, with M already not being against him anymore, so that was underwhelming. He says to M that her mission gave him Shadow, and reminds her that Adam is not responding to his signals. As Sonic wonders, what was I thinking in coming here? He sees a whole army of Metal Sonics and says, "I may like the design, but I can't let you guys run wild." I like that he likes their design. It's one of those subtle showcases of his ego. After the robots start trashing the place, Sonic and Rotor run on the base towards the egg ship, wondering who could have built them, and the robots decide not to give chase because their magic sensors detect neither their objective nor his creations in the pod. They decide to continue searching for Eggman, as ordered by royal decree. Elias? M tells Eggman that the files are downloaded, and with Shadow near them, Eggman says to M, "Mecha, this is no way to treat family." After M questions this, Eggman reminds them all that Shadow was created by his grandfather. Eggman shows Shadow the military footage of Gerald, which conveniently also recorded what happened to Maria all the way up on the Ark. And I like how he looks sad during that and says that the military tragically cut down my half-sister in the prime of her life. So Maria was his half-sister? Or rather Robotnik's? Of course, despite him crying, Eggman says that he was only an infant when the whole thing happened. So why the hell is he upset enough to cry about that? He's good at faking tears. I guess he thought about something that made him really sad, like him still not winning. After Eggman's relating to Shadow about Maria's death, which Shadow is naive enough to buy, not realizing that he would have roboticized her given the chance, Shadow says, "You and I appear to share common enemies," and Eggman offers to fight them together, except their common enemy, the Station Square military, is just one enemy, not enemies. I could only understand him fighting alongside him against that particular target. So this is pretty interesting. Like he actually talked Shadow into working for him, taking advantage of his naivety from actually being pretty young, rather than brainwashing him like he tried to do with Khan. Although brainwashing him would have been smarter. After he says he wants to learn who created the Metal Sonics, we see Elias walking down the stairs to Chuck, since he was told that he needed him, and Chuck thinks himself that his worst fears have been realized. He is scared after being found in the sealed-off portion of the castle, thinking, what do I say, the truth that would horrify him, or a lie to cover this up? If Elias really would get mad at Uncle Chuck for trying to beat Eggman once and for all, he's hopeless. I for one completely support him on this, and hopefully it's character development from his bullshit, literally all life is sacred including Robotnik's philosophy. He lies nervously that a special project conceived before Elias came to power has been activated apparently, and is out of control. Sonic and Rotor go down to the dungeon, and after Elias asks if either of them were involved with Chuck's project, Chuck says that this was started by Jules and him, it's about time the two were brought up to speed. He had sent them here because this concerns Kingdom security. Chuck explains that back when the Kingdom's greatest warrior had vanished without a trace, the consensus was that it would require a special defense force to replace him. And so a Metal Sonic was built, more streamlined to make it unable to be confused with the ones of Eggman. But upon Sonic's return, the project was deemed unnecessary and abandoned, and Chuck is shown being inexplicably relieved as he shuts down the Metal Sonics. Failsafes were installed as a precaution to keep the robots from being unleashed. The latest in fiber optic technology was used to allow for tracking and visual monitoring, and in the event of a loss of control, the means to abort their operation. He thinks unhappily that they're not receiving the signal though, asks if there's something wrong with the transmission, and Eggman says that he rates the chances of survival of anyone within that structure to be slim to none. Shadow then races to Knothole to try to save Hope, saying that as long as Hope lives, Hope will endure, while thinking, not again, not this time. As Sonic shows up in a blue blur, Shadow thinks that he won't let the same thing that happened to Maria happen to Hope. He panics at seeing Neo Metal Sonic fight, saying, "Not this time," and then he wonders, how did I do that? What did he do? I couldn't tell because this is a series of still images and there's no motion involved. One of the robots crashes into Shadow, causing Shadow to throw it, and he thinks, so why didn't the force shield happen a second time? Was it a one-shot deal? Sonic thinks that he could have sworn he saw Shadow go into Rosie's hut, so hopes living with Rosie, and wonders that Neo Metal Sonic says, "You two will deal with this one while we continue to execute the Prime Directive." Sonic sees the robots around the hut and talks all friendly about fighting them. Meanwhile, Sonic thinks, "I've gotta find my uncle Hobby to keep him outside the lab." Sonic's mother says, "What kind of parents are we, Jules, letting our son go off with that horrible man?" Jules says that he's been asking himself that too, and says that their son has more experience with fighting Robotnik than they had. Remember, they fought in a war. Bernadette says that it's different now, he has us again, and as his parents it's our job to protect him. It makes sense that the mother would be more overprotective. I really like this dynamic, how it's not both of them, but just the mother who's like that. The knothole emergency warning system goes off, and Bernadette gets worried from the alarm, saying that Sonic's in trouble. Jules saves some of Rosie's babysat kids from a blue blur. Sonic's mother says that they need to get them to safety, and Jules says that there's others who need them right now, and they'll head into the palace. Elias tells Sally to gather everyone into the Great Hall and says that if Knothole falls, she should prepare to lead them into the Southlands. As I wonder why the hell the Neo Metal Sonics are here threatening Hope like that. Both Sonic and Shadow fend them off with her hugging Rosie. And after one of the robots hits Hope in the face, Shadow panics, assumes that she got killed from that because of what happened to Maria, and says, "If that girl dies, Sonic, then so will you." His reaction makes perfect sense here, especially if he has PTSD, and really doesn't want the same thing to happen again. The only real story of this issue is by Ken Penders. The rest of the issue has precious comic space wasted on Mike Gallagher's off-panel universe. And I really like the concept of it. How, rather than being a more predictable robot of Eggman's turns on him, although M would have been perfectly reasonable with her motive, instead the whole Metal Sonic army was made by Uncle Chuck to fight Eggman, and they shut them down earlier because Sonic came back and they didn't want to kill Eggman since they're softies. So now what I assume is Snively activated them again. It's a cool concept. Although M is immediately made to go back to Eggman's side with the convenient Deus Ex Machina while Adam's still not following orders. It's underwhelming that after M made such an impression as being against Eggman, even calling out his crimes on the Kingdom Acorn, she got brainwashed to be on his side again so easily. And I don't understand why all these robots end up threatening Hope. Why would they be programmed to do this? It's so arbitrary.